Okay, this is the first technique that I'm going to teach for linking for traffic, our linking for traffic series. And this is a little diagram that I've put together of a process that we're currently using. Um, and I'm going to walk through it with you right now so you can kind of see an overview of how you can apply this for your own business and your own site. Okay. Again, the focus of this video is backlinking, getting backlinks, but not getting backlinks so much for the page rank or the Google rank benefit, but you're trying to bypass Google completely, and your focus here is just getting rank for, or getting links for the traffic potential of those links. So I'm going to get into detail on each one of these subsections of the technique. So the purpose of this video is just to give you an overview of how the whole thing works. So first of all, this is specifically focused on forums. Okay, I'm talking about forums. And there's different techniques you want to follow for doing blog commenting, which is another big place where you can get backlinks for traffic, and other types of sites as well take different techniques. So this is a specific process that you want to use for forums. And I'm going to show in some other videos some sources where I can help you find forums in your niche that have high traffic and how you can tell how much traffic they have. And so what I've done is in the specific niche where I've shown you some of the traffic results from one specific forum, is I went through the forums in that niche and figured out which forums have the most traffic, and then those are the ones that I am focusing on with this technique. Okay, so what you have here now, this is assuming, some of this is assuming that you have some popularity with your niche, which is why I start with Google Alerts. The first thing that you want to do is you want to set up Google Alerts so that it sends you an email every time you or your website is mentioned in their index. And if you just do a Google search for Google Alerts, it'll take you right to the page. And what you do is you can put in the search query that you're interested in knowing about. I would do a whole bunch of these. You want to have some with your name, some with your website URL, some with maybe if your product name is unique enough. Anytime you're mentioned, you want that to come to you in an email. And I'm gonna have another video that specifically talks about that, because there's specific types of queries you can do. You know, if I just do a query for my name, Chad Kimball, it's a mess. I mean, I'm going to get emails every single day with tons. There's actually a Broadway or some kind of an actor that has my same name. I'm going to get so much noise, it's going to be impossible for me to utilize that information. So I'm going to do another video just on different search queries you can do to help minimize the noise and really target the focus of your reports. But then Google will actually send you, every time that your specific search, a new site pops into their index that matches that search, you're going to get an email. And you can see there's all kinds of results you can get them to email you about. You can do it once a day, you can do it in real time. It just depends on the specific process you're using, and I'm going to get into all that in more specific. But that's Google Alerts. So what's going to happen is you're going to get an email, and I would have a specific alert set up for this specific forum. So you can do that just by doing a site colon command. And so you're going to have site colon in the forum, and then your specific query, whether it's your name, your product name, your website URL, your website name. Those are all the types of queries you want them to send you. And that way it'll go out and it'll only send you reports from this specific forum where you're focusing your technique. So Google Alerts is the first place that you're going to get new threads that you can start to use for this linking for traffic. You're also going to create new accounts, multiple new accounts on that specific forum. Now, in this specific niche, this forum is a pretty popular one, the one that I'm using it for this case study. And so I was actually able to go out there and actually purchase accounts that already existed that people had created and were interested in selling. And I just posted ads for forum accounts saying I want to buy accounts for this forum, and I gave them some of my criteria, how many posts I was looking for, and the age of the accounts, and I was able to purchase, I believe around 10 accounts right off the bat that had existing posts and everything like that. Depending on your niche, you might it might not be as available, and you might have to actually hire people to create these accounts for you. But it's really easy for you to outsource it on freelancer.com. New accounts being created, and I actually have some of my outsourcers actually creating accounts for me on this same forum as well, so I'll have them in the future. And then what you're going to do is have a collection of those accounts, and you're going to have those accounts all make sure that they're all created on separate IP addresses so that they aren't tied together by the forum owner. Okay. And then what you do is you post a question from one of these newer accounts. So say it's an account that has maybe 10 posts. And what you do is you have that forum profile post a question for that where your product or some free content you've created would be an obvious answer to that question. Okay? Now, then you have a collection of aged accounts, and these are accounts that they don't just have maybe 10 posts, but there's a little more of an investment there. They have maybe 10 accounts or so. I'm sorry, they have maybe 50 posts or 60, 70, even 100 posts. And again, you can outsource this whole process as well, or you can do it yourself. I would encourage you to go into the black hat techniques and watch these two videos here on hiding your IP address with VMware and Foxy Proxy. These two videos, very, very important for this technique. You need to know how you can very quickly set up a new virtual machine on your own computer, use Foxy Proxy to keep the IP address unique, and then the VMware is going to keep you from being tracked in any other way by that forum owner, as far as cookies or anything like that. Make sure you're using that. So you're going to have a virtual machine that you use exclusively for these aged accounts, and then you're going to have a different virtual machine and a different IP address that you're using for the newer accounts right here. And so basically what you're going to do is this aged account here, and this works like gangbusters. This aged account over here is going to answer the question that this newer account, so this is more like a newbie, this will be seen as like a newbie in your niche, this will be seen more as someone who's a little more invested in your niche. This account over here is going to answer this one, and neither of these are associated with your specific name. Okay, these are this is meant to look like a third-party conversation. This one replies to this one and links to your product, or you can have them link to, what I like to do is rather than link directly to the product, I like to have this aged account say, hey, this guy has posted a free video that answers this exact question. You do have to enter your name and email to get the video, but it's highly worth it. I recommend it. It talks about this, 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 and this, and a little very, very, very subtle pitch for that free content, and then you actually send them to an opt-in page. This aged account does. That's what I prefer to do, because that way you're getting email addresses and you're getting them into your autoresponder sequence rather than just direct linking to your sales page. And so then people are going to see, wow, this guy is recommending it as an answer to this question, a question that I actually have. This should be a good question that a lot of people in your niche are asking and needing answered. And right there, with just those two posts, you can see sometimes that thread will start to take off. People start to discuss it. You won't even need to touch it after that. It could just virally start to take off in that specific forum. And then you're going to be seeing the traffic come in. You're going to be seeing the opt-ins coming in without you even having to touch it at all. And the reason why it's so important that this is a third-party conversation is that you can see, okay, I'm going to show you a couple of statistics here, okay, just from one, and this is just from one specific forum in this niche, okay. This 77 clicks, 32 opt-ins, okay, that's a pretty good opt-in rate. It's pretty good. No sales though, from November 28th to December 10th, so about, under 2 weeks, okay. This is the result. The 7 to 7 clicks is a result of a lot of posting, a lot of forum posts in this specific forum, a lot of effort and time spent answering people's questions, and these 77 clicks are all coming from my signature in this specific forum. So this is where I have a primary forum profile that is associated with my product, and it has a link to my sales process. It's an opt-in form in my signature, and all of that is funneling people into the sales process for that niche. Okay, so theoretically, you'd think, wow, if you're out there just commenting, answering people's questions, people would be clicking on your signature and you'd be getting a lot of opt-ins and traffic. Well, after all that effort, I only had 77 clicks and 32 opt-ins from that. Now, just to show you a contrast, using this specific technique, okay, this is only the one technique where I post a question and then I get a response from an aged account mentioning my product. And this is only from one thread. Okay, this is not, I've done this in multiple threads. Just I'm showing you the WordPress statistics just from one thread. I've got over 40 clicks just from the one thread, and I've only done a couple of posts in that thread to get this traffic. Okay, so I did just one exchange between my aged account and my newbie account, and you can see your results are much, much better. There's far, far more traffic that comes from a third party mention than from a direct link from your signature. People trust it a lot more when it's mentioned by third parties, which is why I've devised this system. Now, after the conversation gets going, you can jump in there and start to post as yourself, or as, say, you're using a pseudonym for that niche or something. You can jump in and start to post as yourself just to keep the thread bumping up. But it's important that the first few posts are the manual question, or the newbie question, and the aged answer that links to your opt-in form. And that's real important, that's what people see first, because after you get 4 posts down or so, you're going to get far less traffic off of those posts. So you can use your own account then to start answering people's questions and stuff like that. The account that is owned by your product, that uses your own name or your pseudonym, the product owner. But you want these third parties to start the thread off. Okay, so that's just one root, sort of, or one branch of the technique. You're also going to be getting, at the same time, Google Alerts is going to be delivering you other places in that forum where you have been mentioned. And if there's a link in those threads, you can bump those threads as well, and you'll be getting traffic from those threads as well. These are the old threads, and you can bump them with other new accounts, or you can just bump them by answering people's questions as your product, your main product account. And then thirdly, you're going to have manually posted promo from aged accounts. And this is, I use promo in sort of a very loosely here. Okay, because you're not trying to do a hardcore sales promo. What this is an aged account. It's going to be a different aged account than these other ones, okay, because you don't want the same aged account to be posting all over the place promoting your stuff. You want to keep track of these accounts, and I'll show you how I do that. But keep track of these accounts to make sure you know what IP address they posted from, and to make sure you know how much have they promoted your stuff, so that you don't overdo it and get those accounts deleted. But you can also just have manually posted promos that just say, hey, I found this great site or this great resource, and he asks for the name and email or whatever, but it has a great like 3 videos in here. After you give them your name and email, it gives you 3 videos on answering this major question that all of us have in this community. You should really check it out. And again, it's a third party account that you're not openly letting them know that that's associated with your product. And that one can follow the same process as the other ones as far as being bumped, and then you can actually come in as yourself and answer that age. You want to say, hey, thanks for the mention, that's great, I appreciate you mentioning our resources, and that'll bump it. And the key here is to the ideal is that then these threads will all go viral and you won't have to touch them. But the reality is, at times, you do need to coax them back up into the top where everyone is looking in the forum. So what you need to do then is you watch when the thread starts to fall in position and or traffic. And what we have in our Woopra tracking, which you can do this too, is we have a specific label set up, and I can show you how to do this in another video, but a specific label set up that tracks specifically the links from this forum, from one forum. And you can even set up labels for each thread, and then you can begin to watch, or you can have one of your outsourcers watch the traffic from that thread, and you can say, hey, when the traffic from this thread drops down to, say, 2 visitors a day or something like that, let me know, so that you can then enact the next part of the process, which is that you bump that thread again with newer accounts. Again, this can be another newbie account that's asking a question. It could be they could ask a question about the topic in general that's related, or they could ask a question about your specific resource that's owned by your niche product, and that'll bump it back up to the top, and you might actually then get other forum owners, other forum third parties to just come in and answer that without you having to do anything, or you might have to continue the conversation yourself. And all this can be done by outsourcers, okay? Because you can have a series of questions all planned out for your post, for your thread there. And as well, you can have pre-written answers that your outsourcer can post from an aged account. And all these accounts are all going to be owned by you, but they're all interacting with each other as if they are separate people, creating a conversation that others will watch, and they will click on your links and come and visit your site as a result. Now, I know I moved through that pretty quickly. I'm going to have detailed videos on each part of this process. So if some of the stuff went over your head, or you're asking how could I exactly do that, we're going to have detailed videos explaining each part of that process. But the result is going to be that in your specific niche, after a while, after you do a few of these threads, you'll start to see how much traffic each type of thread can bring you. And so basically all it is then is a matter of scaling the process. So say you realize, I want to make 1 sale a day of this niche product. And to make 1 sale, I need 200 links. So, and I get about 10 visitors per day from each thread that I'm keeping going here. So that means that I need 20 threads in this forum. Over time, I need to build up 20 threads that are all sending traffic to my site. That would be a way you'd break down what you need to do. Now, it might be like with this specific forum, I don't need that many threads in order to really start to get sales. I only need maybe 10 to keep maybe 10 threads going, which is a lot easier. So it really depends on your niche, how much traffic you're going to get from each thread that you're keeping going. And then lastly, what you can do, although this is going to bring less traffic than the third-party conversation that you're creating here, is you can have an outsourcer that's looking for legitimate questions posted by forum members that need answers. So, and then you can jump in and answer them, or if you have an outsourcer that's knowledgeable, can jump in and answer them with the main account. When I say main account, I mean the main account that's associated with your product, your specific niche product, your pseudonym, or it might be your own name. Whatever the guru's name is, that can be their main account, and they can answer those questions as well. Although, like I showed you earlier with those statistics, you're not going to get as much traffic from a signature or even mentioning a link to your own site with a forum account that you own. You're going to get a lot less traffic than from third-party mentions. But it still can be worth it to bring your overall traffic amount up to what you're looking for. So that's the process in a nutshell. And again, we're going to go through we're going to be posting some videos describing in detail how you do all this, how you keep your account separate with IP address. We're going to talk to you about how to manage your outsourcers and how to organize the different people involved in this process. We're also going to talk about how to automate this, because this is a lot of manual work, as you can tell just from looking at this process, but you can use a lot of tools to automate keeping these threads going. And also, if you just do some pre-planning and get your posts planned out ahead of time, a lot of this process can go without you having to do a lot of work yourself at all. And the other good thing is a lot of this can be done by people that don't really speak English that well at all. You just need to give them some detailed instructions and the post content to copy and paste into different threads, which is what I do. So a lot of the threads is either written by me or someone else that speaks English well, and then I have outsourcers that I would never trust to actually come up with a post on their own. But I have them copy and paste content in for me, and that way they're the ones that are actually more keeping track of the threads and what's happening with them. And you want to set it up like that, so that someone else whose time is less valuable than yours is actually the one who's sort of tracking these things and copying and pasting in questions and answers into the thread as they go along. We're also going to talk about creating good content, because a lot of what this process all is based off of is having high quality offers. Specifically, what I prefer is free offers that you're giving out in exchange for an opt-in, and having a number of these different offers that are all answering specific questions in the niche that you're targeting, so that over time you really have a collection of forum threads that are answering some of the main questions people have in your niche. But in order for them to get that information, they have to give you their email address. So that there's a specific way that you can set up your blog or your website to have all of these different topics available for people behind an opt-in form. We're going to talk about content planning and all that as well. So, hope you're looking forward to that. Again, a lot of this from what I gave you right here, you could probably start to implement this process. We're going to get into a lot more detail, but if you want to get cracking on it, I would say the one thing that's most important is that you keep your IP addresses separate. And again, those videos that I showed you earlier about using the virtual machines and the Foxy Proxy add-on is your key there. Make sure you're doing it, or that your outsourcer are doing that. Otherwise, your forum owners are going to get in here and delete all of these accounts. Because they'll just see that everything's being posted from the same IP address or the same cookied system, and you don't want that. So make sure that you're really careful with your IP address. Those videos will teach you how to do it. And if you have any questions, go ahead and post them here in this thread, and we'll jump in and answer them.